Hi there everyone, my name is Christian Eschbach and welcome to another one of my album reviews. Today we are looking at what was probably Ozzy's last solid album until he released Ordinary Man, which I've already done a review for. And I am talking about Osmosis. I really enjoyed this album when it first came out. But when it first came out and I was really listening to it, there was only 3 or 4 songs that I really dug. And when I was going into it, getting ready to review it this time, I was expecting to kind of give more of a kind of review about it, right? But my views have definitely changed a bit on this one. I actually really dig this album. And this album is surprisingly light in retrospect, considering the music at the time was really dark. This is a 1995 release, according to the back here. And I picked it up as soon as it came out. This was the same time that Kiss was working on Carnival of Souls and a lot of the other metal bands. Metallica was doing Load, Reload. There was some other bands in there that kind of everybody was accusing of going more grunge or a little darker or a little more depressing and dreary. And, you know, Ozzy's the Prince of Darkness, right? So his stuff's always kind of got a little bit of depressing and dreary, sort of in its own little way, right? But this album wasn't that, you know? This album stood out kind of nice. My only issue back in the day with this album was it wasn't heavy enough. Because when Ozzy does heavy, he does heavy well. Whereas there was a few songs on here that honestly were just a little too light and fluffy for me at the time. And my views on those songs have really kind of changed. And things, my whole perspective the whole way around has changed. Just give me a second, I'm going to pull out the book here. So I can't even remember who played on this album anymore at this point. I know Zach wrote on chunks of it and played on chunks of it because this was the last one he did before he left. Oh, man. Oh, I don't like the way they put the notes and everything in here. Oh, here we go. So the album, the band for this album consisted of Geezer Butler, which is awesome. Zach Wilde, awesome. Dean Costernova, cool. On drums, sorry. Rick Wakeman on keyboards and Michael Beinhorn on keyboards. Or Bainhorn, I'm not sure how you want to say that. Writing compositions are all over the place. And overall, in retrospect, I mean, you're talking, 25 years later now? Wow, 25 years later I'm talking about this album. So, let's get into the actual album here, right? We got Perry Mason opens up the album. Now, this was always a great opening, great song, video was cool, kind of cliche, kind of Ozzy stuff. But it had this great kind of vibe to it. And I really still love the opening to Perry Mason. It really just... The whole song itself, great riff even, everything about it is just strong and powerful. And, you get that cool riff and going on the... like kind of that core. But then you get the thump. Boom, boom, coming through at the beginning and stuff like that. It sounds like the gavel kind of going down, stuff like that. Really cool instrumental sort of experimentational song, especially for Ozzy, because this song actually felt like the music was contributing a lot to the song, not just music to accompany Ozzy's lyrics, kind of. Also, I will say that Perry Mason was, I believe it was done, the main riff is done in 6/8, if I recall. I might be wrong on that. I've got it in a mag somewhere, and the reason why this comes to mind is that's what gave that cool riff at the do 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 do. You know, if it wasn't 6/8, it was either 9 or 12/8. I can't remember how. You know, it's just a great, cool riff going on, and I love it so much, and it taught me so much on guitar and bass from learning that riff. It was just great, wonderful sounding. After that, it goes into I Just Want You. I'm not a fan. I wasn't a fan back then. It was the ballad of the album, and I just wasn't into it. I don't mind it. I'm still not into it. Now, for me, when I was younger, when this album first came out, I remember I really didn't like how slow it moved, you know, in the first few songs. Because Perry Mason's got this cool, it's not fast, it's got this great, dark, slow kind of chug to it, you know, with this cool little riff kind of, you know, waving through it. But there's no real, like, speed to it. No real, whoo, get up and go. And then it just slows down. And then you get to the Ghost Behind My Eyes, and it's still just slow. And that really kind of... And at this point, not only is it slowed down, it's mellowed the fuck out. Now, as an adult, I enjoy Ghost Behind My Eyes a lot more. I enjoy it kind of on the sentimentality and the lyrical side of it a little bit more. The music doesn't do much for me still. But that's about where I go with it, you know. I find myself singing the chorus every so often. You know, it gets kind of stuck in my head. Now, we get into the point where the album picks back up and gets a little heavy again, which is Thunder Underground. If I remember correctly, I'm not pulling the liner notes back out. But if I remember correctly, I believe that was a Geezer Butler co-written song. And great, heavy, gravitas song. And I really dig it. I really get into it, and I really think it's got some great groove and great sound to it. And to me, it shows how Geezer and Ozzy work so well together. Geezer and Tony Iommi work so well together. You know, Geezer is kind of like the linchpin for me, and there will be some Geezer reviews coming. I've picked up some of his solo albums, so that will be coming. Just not yet. I gotta listen to them better. Recent pickups. Anyways, so Thunder Underground, I really get into it. I really love how heavy it is. I love the chugging of it, man. I love a song that's got some chug. Oh, yeah, some good chug. Good, heavy, ballsy chug. Low-end chug. And that's one thing I do really like about this album. This album really does do a lot in the low end. I really like when I hear a lot more into the low end, lower end frequency, stuff like that. High end's great, but, you know, yeah, you get a little bored of the high end after a while. So to have this album itself is great for that low end kind of thundery, rumbly kind of sound. Alright, after Thunder Underground, we get into See You on the Other Side, which just all of a sudden lightens up the album again. I don't mind See You on the Other Side. It's not a bad tune, actually. It's kind of enjoyable. I get into it. I can see why a lot of people do like it. Not exactly my biggest choice, but I enjoy it. When I'm out, you can see I'm still supposed to wear my brace. Right now I'm rehabbing my hand, doing my exercises down here as we're going. And when I'm listening to it on my headphones as I'm going, it sounds wonderful. It sounds great. I do enjoy it, you know, out on the scooter, riding the bird around, because I finally brave riding the bird, but I ride it with my brace. It's not bad, though. I really do enjoy See You on the Other Side. That goes into Tomorrow. And Tomorrow's not bad. The thing is Tomorrow's one of those songs I look at when I'm looking at the back. It's like, oh, well, okay, yeah, I vaguely remember which one that is. When I'm listening to the album, I enjoy it on the album. Denial is cool. I do enjoy Denial. There's something soft and sweet and innocent about it. Once again, though, at this point, I'm finding a little too softish, a little too lightish, which I'm going to contradict myself because then we get into the song My Little Man. Now, this song was clearly written, I'm guessing, about Jack Osbourne. And it's a very sweet song. And as a dad, I find it very endearing, very loving, very special. There's something great about the song. When I was a teenager and first picked up the album, I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. What the hell, Ozzy? Uh, I really enjoy the song lyrically. I know that not Elton, sorry. I know that Ozzy is a huge fan of John Lennon, and My Little Man would be basically Darling Boy, or Beautiful Boy, Beautiful Boy, I believe it is, from John Lennon. Names escape me in a second. But that's what it feels like to me, you know. And Ozzy, it's cool when Ozzy is inspired by, you know, his contemporaries, really. You know, like obviously the Beatles were a little before him, but really, you know, they are his contemporaries. And I like that he still is inspired so much by them and listens to that stuff and enjoys that. You know what I mean? After that, we go into My Jekyll Doesn't Hide. This one, once again, I believe this is the other Geezer Butler song. I think there was two on here. I can't remember. My Jekyll Doesn't Hide is a great song. I really like that it's heavy. It's always stood out for me. I've always really enjoyed it. And for me, I always thought when I was younger, I know, this is where I always thought the album should have ended. Because the last song on the album is Old LA Tonight. And Old LA Tonight, as a teenager, I actually used to make fun of it because during the chorus, he always says, I fall to pieces. But the way it sounds when you're listening to it and, you know, you're having a good time with friends, it sounds like I'm falling for Reese's Pieces. So, yeah, we used to sing that line with it all. I'm falling for Reese's Pieces. But Old LA Tonight, as an adult, I enjoy it. I mean, I've never been to LA. I'm not an LA person. But when you listen to it, it's not even, you can apply it to anywhere, you know, it doesn't have to be old LA. It's that kind of romanticism. And I think one of the reasons why I'm enjoying this album so much now at this point is 25 years ago, Ozzy was just slightly older than I am now. You know, well, I mean, a little more than slightly older, but you know, I'm in that era now that Ozzy was in when this album was done, and you know, your perspective definitely changes on certain things. As an adult, I definitely enjoy this album a hell of a lot more than I did as a teenager. As a teenager, I wasn't into it at all. I wouldn't recommend this as a place to start with Ozzy. You know, it is not Ozzy's best album. Far from Ozzy's best album. Realistically, you know, I haven't covered it yet, I don't believe. But, you know, if you're going to start with Ozzy, go with No More Tears or Blizzard of Oz. Those are the two to start with. And then you work your way from there. This was the follow-up to No More Tears. And I think it took too long to come out after No More Tears. And I think Ozzy was definitely just kind of in a completely different place in his life. This album is more reflective, more personal, I think. The various spots that it draws inspiration from, you know, whether it be his own life. Because you can see that in songs like See You on the Other Side, Old LA Tonight, Goes Behind My Eyes, those ones. He's really starting to contemplate his life as he's getting older. Yeah, you know, and at that point, you know, like this would have been Ozzy going into his, just prior to turning 50, okay? If I remember what year he was born in correctly. So, you know, he definitely would have been really reflective, and not necessarily in that whole metal frame. This was actually his comeback album, because Ozzy was supposed to have retired after No More Tears, and then he decided to come back because he couldn't handle being home, and he released this album, and this is what we got. This is post first retirement Ozzy. It's not a bad album. If you're an Ozzy enthusiast, it's not a bad album to pick up. It's interesting. It's fun to enjoy. In the great scheme of Ozzy albums, I mean, it could fall into a few different spots, really, honestly. Now, the reason why I'm reviewing this is, if you're one of my regular viewers, especially if Confessions of a Domestic Engineer, I don't talk about it too often on here, but I am on Patreon running a poll right now, and that poll is to pick the next box set I'm going to review. The Ozzy Osbourne Prince of Darkness box set is one of the albums that is an option for me to review. So just keep that in mind. Otherwise, everybody, I do thank you very much for watching. Link below to get to that poll. I left it open so anybody can vote. Anyways, peace. Oh, that hurts. That hurts so bad. Love. Take care. Oh, man. Yeah, still rehabbing that hand. It's not doing great yet. Anyways, until next time.